Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in today's episode of The Hypnotist, I'm going to be doing a random hypnosis session based on dream symbols. Also going to access the emotional states and random nouns, and of course the hypnotic language pattern card as well. So let's go straight into it and look at the three dream symbols. So on the dream generator, if I can pronounce that, we have drowning, grinding teeth, which I think a lot of people have had dreams about teeth. Perhaps you've had dreams about drowning, and flying as well. I'm not going to take any credence in terms of the dream generators' meanings to these dreams, because I think it's all subject to personal interpretation. It's going to mean different things to different people. But these three things, drowning, teeth grinding, and flying, are going to be related to this hypnosis session. We're going to randomly generate two emotions. So we have lust and disappointment. They are the two random emotions. And we're going to generate three random nouns: far, officer, and tank. So far as in the opposite of close. Officer, normally someone in a position of authority. It could be a police officer, or it could be an officer in an army. And then we've also got tank. Now, there are different meanings related to tank. You've got the military version of a tank, so a military vehicle, normally on tracks, with some kind of gun or kind of launcher. But you've also got a tank that contains things as well. So it could be a water tank or a petrol tank, so a container of something. And these are going to be the things that are going to be almost the skeleton of this hypnosis session. So the emotions are lust and disappointment. We have the dream symbols of drowning, teeth grinding, and flying. And then we have the nouns of far, officer, and tank. Going back now to the hypnotic language cards, and this deck is getting smaller all the time as I one by one get through them. The hypnotic language card here, okay, this is interesting. This is the Joker of the pack. It just says enjoyment boy. It refers to Chris Thompson, who is part of the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. And it's just a statement here that says, enthusiasm unlocks the energy of your hypnosis work. When you're enthusiastic, you'll get better results. Adopt this philosophy and let us know how it serves you. So the intention or the tonality of this is going to be enthusiastic. So I'm going to enthusiastically deliver this hypnosis session, factoring in all of those random ingredients that I've just talked about. So find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and let's get going with this hypnosis session. As you take a deep breath in, feel that feeling of resourceful relaxation going in through your nose, filling your lungs, and as you exhale. If it's safe to do so, allow your eyelids to to close. Continue to breathe in and breathe out, and notice that with each and every breath, it's very natural to find yourself going deeper and deeper, relaxed. Breathing in that resourceful feeling of relaxation and exhaling tension, stress. I want you to imagine that your unconscious is almost like a water tank. As you breathe in that resourceful feeling of relaxation, and I want you to imagine exhaling tension, I want you to imagine that your subconscious mind is a tank of different emotions. And I want you to imagine that this tank could be filled with resourceful emotions, or this tank could be filled with unresourceful emotions. And as you breathe in and breathe out, I want you to entertain the idea that right now, your tank in your subconscious mind is a mixture of both resourceful and unresourceful emotions. As you breathe in, imagine that you're breathing in resourceful feelings. And as you exhale, imagine that any of those emotional states that are no longer serving you, allow them to leave your body in the outward breath. That's right. Breathing in and breathing out, and with each and every breath, imagine a tank becoming more and more full with resources that are useful for you, and becoming emptier and emptier of anything that limits your life in any way. Perhaps you can imagine the gauge, perhaps on a petrol tank, that has an E for empty at one end and an F for full on the other. And I want you to imagine that the dial is somewhere in the middle. But as you continue to breathe in that resourceful feeling of relaxation, perhaps the gauge moves so that you can see that you are filling your tank with the most resourceful states and emotions possible. That's right, continue to breathe in and breathe out. And as you do so, I want you to get a sense of what it would be like to be flying. Perhaps to begin with, you can imagine just levitating off the floor. You're in your own physical body, but there is a gap between you and the ground or the furniture that you're on. Maybe just a few inches. But you get a sense of, before flying, just levitating, just floating. And in doing so, you accept that this is in your imagination. Because it isn't possible to float or levitate in reality. Therefore, this floating feeling that you're experiencing has to be within your imagination. And imagine that you're levitating or floating higher and higher. And I want you to get a sense of that weightlessness, that feeling of relaxation. A feeling that if you were in space and zero gravity, this is what it would feel like. As you continue to breathe in and breathe out, taking you deeper and deeper, relaxed. That's right. And I want you to imagine that you are flying to a lake. Maybe it's a lake that you've been to, or maybe a lake in your imagination. Maybe a picturesque lake near mountains. The sensation of floating and levitating is now changing to the sensation of flying. You are moving from where you are towards this lake. And you might fly like an animal, like a bird or an eagle. Or you might imagine flying like a superhero, like you would imagine Superman to fly through the sky towards this lake. And I want you to get a sense of what it would be like to go through the air, perhaps weaving between clouds, going over cities, over countryside. Get a sense of what it would be like to just fly through the air. That complete feeling of escapism, of freedom. And I want you to imagine that this lake is far away, but you can fly very fast. And therefore, you would treat approaching this lake like you would any goal. Because many places, you don't know exactly how to get there, in the same way that for many goals that you've never achieved before, you don't know exactly what you need to do to make progress. But what you will do is you would make steps in the right direction. So if you're flying towards a lake, you don't know for sure if you're flying in the right direction, but by flying in any direction, it enables you to open your eyes and find key landmarks, reference points. And through a process of feedback and elimination, you can get closer and closer to your destination. And that's exactly what you do. You fly over cities, countryside, towards this lake. And I want you to imagine what it would be like to finally get to that lake. There you are, perhaps by the side of that lake. And I want you to imagine that this lake can represent anything to you. And I wonder what it would be if this lake represented all of your previous disappointments. What if you were standing by the edge of a lake of every disappointment that you've ever experienced? Imagine there you are by the shore. And as you look at that lake, you realize what it took for you to be disappointed. In order to be disappointed, wasn't it the case that at some level you had an expectation, that you thought something was going to happen? And it's only when it didn't work out the way that you wanted it to that you felt that disappointment. Perhaps over a lifetime, those drips of disappointment after disappointment was able to accumulate over time until now you're standing by the side of a lake of disappointment. And you can make a choice. You can decide to wallow and swim in that lake of disappointment, or you can choose to drain the plug hole of that disappointment. And what if, in order to drain the plug hole of that disappointment, to empty that lake, you need to make one distinction in your life? And I wonder what your future would be like if you decided to make one strategic change. What would it be like if you swapped your expectations for appreciations? That rather than expecting things to happen, you keep an open mind, an enthusiastic approach, and that when good things happen, you appreciate them. And because you're not expecting them, it enriches your experience of appreciation. Perhaps there's been one time in your life that you were expecting a gift. Maybe you interpreted certain hints or suggestions, or maybe your hopes that you were going to get something very specific, and maybe the gift itself didn't live up to those expectations, and in doing so, you received something that someone took time and money and thought to get for you, and you were disappointed. And wasn't it the case that the person that gave that gift felt that disappointment? It was written all over your face. And imagine rewinding that situation and playing it forward where you had zero expectations. You were curious, perhaps, as to what this gift would be. But even if it was an empty box, you would be happy with that empty box. And then imagine opening the very same gift, but this time with zero expectations. Anything that gift represents could be a cause of gratitude and appreciation. Imagine opening that gift and finding just one thing about that gift that you can appreciate. Even if you can appreciate that someone took a certain amount of time and effort and thought and money to get you that gift. You can appreciate that. And in doing so, that appreciation is written all over your face, which means the giver felt more joy, more satisfaction. They were rewarded from your appreciation. And at the same time, you felt better too. And I wonder what it would be like if you just swapped expectations for appreciations. What would the ripple effect throughout the lake of your life be if that was the case? I want you to imagine that you are not a passenger in your life. You are the officer of your life. You are in charge of key decisions. If you don't want to have a life of disappointment, then make an executive order. Make a decision that from this point forward, you have no expectations. You just have an open mind and a willingness to appreciate all that is good and all that is positive and all that other people do for you. And in doing so, doesn't it mean less disappointments and more of what is good? And there may have been a time in your life where you were so stressed that perhaps either when you were awake or when you were sleeping, you couldn't help but notice you were grinding your teeth. Perhaps this was a way of letting you know that you had to release certain energy. And I wonder how much more you could achieve if when you look at this lake, we fill the lake with something more powerful, more useful than disappointment. I want you to see where there was a lake is now just almost an empty quarry, a drained lake. All that disappointment has drained away, and now you're going to fill that lake up with all those things that you desire. Not that you expect, but that if you had them, you would appreciate them. And look at that quarry. Start to fill it up. If you can think of one thing that you would love, desire, want, imagine what it is. Perhaps a car, a house, a holiday, a person, maybe someone that you've wanted to be with forever. As you think of them, notice that the lake starts to fill. This lake of disappointment is now turning into a lake of lust. And the more that you desire, the more enthusiasm you unlock within you. And in doing so, isn't it the case that you become more motivated, more passionate, and continue to think about all those things that you want more than anything else? What would be your dream career, business? What would be the dream amount in your bank account? What jewelry, clothes, what gadgets, things that you would want, you would desire? What people would you want to hang out with, be friends with? What experiences would you really desire more than anything else? And as you lust for these things, You're not doing it from a point of view of neediness, of necessity, but just inspiration. All these things are possible things that could be desirable for you. And isn't that the point at some level of life? Is to live a full life where you get to experience all those things. You get to eat the food that you want, have the moments that you want, the experiences that you want, the holidays, the accomplishments, the successes that you want. And imagine that lake of lust full right to where it was before, only this time the colour is different. That dull colour before of disappointment is all drained away, and now there is a vibrant, bright lake, a lake of lust, unlocking enthusiasm within you. And your internal officer is able to make the executive orders to unlock all of the resources that are now filled in your tank, to deploy them, to enable you to create a future where you get to have more of what you want and less of what you don't. And you're not expecting things in your future, but when they come, you'll appreciate them. And you'll appreciate them all the more by converting your expectations into appreciations. And I don't know how far into the future you can think of, but you can imagine that your future, as far as you can imagine, is filled with good experiences and good moments, a life of enthusiasm, appreciation, gratitude, and incredible experiences. And maybe what you desire most isn't for you, but for other people around you, the people you love, the people you care for, perhaps a charity or a community. Imagine that you can also desire things or impact for other people. And the more far-reaching you can think, the more able you are to keep that tank filled with resourceful states, enabling you to experience more and enjoy more and appreciate what life has to offer. And then you realize that all of this is just thoughts within thoughts, ideas within ideas, dreams within dreams, and actually, you're listening to my voice now in the present, in your own physical body right now. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. I want you to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, get a sense that you're in your own physical body right now, because very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken feeling enthusiastic, feeling motivated, feeling that you've traded your disappointments with desire, with lust, for living life to the fullest. And from this point onwards, you've decided to replace your expectations with appreciations, giving you more of what you desire and ensuring your tank of resourcefulness is filled to the brim. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end there. I found that a really interesting one to do. I think it was quite tricky to take such different and random words and emotions and symbols and this kind of approach here of enthusiasm and to fuse it all into a session. But I genuinely hope that was useful. There's certain principles there that I found very useful for me, just in my life, of trying to learn something from disappointments and having an attitude really of appreciation rather than expectation, just means that, and it's weird, because quite often people have learned to try and manage other people's expectations, and quite often they'll ask me, what are you expecting? And when I reply with, I don't have expectations, I just appreciate good things when good things happen, it really fucking confuses people because they don't know what to make of it. And it's a subtle shift in thinking, but it's a profound shift in thinking. I'm also a big advocate of writing down all those things that you want. I personally have a vision board. I use an app called Trello. So all these things that I want, I have a section called Ridiculously Big Goals. I have incredible things that I want in my future and for my family and for my life in general. And that helps me to become more resourceful and more motivated and more productive because it comes from a place of opportunity and possibility, which I think is a really powerful, resourceful state. So hopefully you found that hypnosis session useful. If you did, please drop a comment, maybe like or subscribe to the show if you haven't already. And if you have any feedback, anything like that, please put it in the comments. And I certainly read and reply to every comment that I get. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you again soon.